Welcome everybody to podcast number 145. We're getting up there. 150 is only 5 episodes away.
Good math.
Getting a little crazy.
No,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Early
Guy
chip in by
doesn't speak on. Yeah, guy doesn't speak on podcasts. Wow.
So, what do you guys want to talk about right off the bat here? Should we go 5PL? We already through week 1.
How about we stop that, though? Adam, I know he's already been talking for the last 15 minutes. You couldn't stop him talking, everybody. It's amazing. About the WWE event that you went and witnessed, the wrestling event. Let's hear all about it, Weber.
It was incredible. WWE Raw. And I don't think I've been to one probably in about 20-some years. Back in Calgary, I think it went with Stacey Sanderson at the time and Little David. You know, it was an absolute blast back then. But being able to bring Braxton down, and Lucy was there as well, and Lucy's like fangirling all over. You know, a lot of the guys that are there, and Ed shows up late, and whole experience was pretty incredible. We really can't get much better for 4.5, 5 hours for like $40.
That's really good.
That's-
Christmas is well done.
Yes.
I'm kind of mad that I didn't go, to be honest with you. I was a little disappointed in myself when I saw your post that you were at Raw. I was like, oh man, how did I miss that?
Yeah, it's so good. I hope it comes back. I think SmackDown's in Winnipeg this Friday.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
Oh man,
Current.
Current.
Randy
Probably
Orton.
Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Still,
There we go.
I love the guy when he's out there, and they Matt Riddle was definitely missing him for their RK Bro this week. But it would have been awesome to see him.
And who's your favorite of all time?
It's got to be Bret the Hitman.
Really?
That's best there is, best there was, best there ever
Best
will
there
be.
ever will be.
Try to get some of the motto out for my game. It was, the worst part is we ended up getting Braxton the Roman Reigns hat, and it's got that stupid God mode status or whatever on the side of it. So he officially chose Mitch over me. God mode Davies.
No, same height.
Yeah, same hand size, same everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it looked like it was fun.
It was
No, it was a good time.
Now we can talk bowling. Sorry, Carrie.
No worries. That's what this first 10 minutes is all about.
Well, Timmy doesn't want to talk about the Raiders. I know that.
You know what? Nothing's worse than you hear somebody at work is like 3-0. My team's 3-0. Best team in the league. And I was talking about Dexter's Dolphins. I was like, you know what? I have nothing to fight about it, but it is what it is. Yeah. You know, it is what it is. Raiders sucked. I beat Carrie in fantasy baseball semifinals. So, and my Sunday was a little bit better. You know, I know it is what it is. I learned to live.
Fantasy baseball's into the final week, are you?
Yeah, final week. I play Ryan O'Callahan. So,
In the
Good
final?
luck, Ryan.
yeah, it's just for a shift.
Tim made it to the
basically.
final? Wow. Carrie, aren't you a little disappointed in yourself that if you lost to Tim in baseball fantasy?
Oh, they had to cheat to get there. You should have seen the shady trades going on.
Oh, here we go. Yeah,
Did everybody else in the league call give the old poor Tim routine and trade up?
You know what?
You could ask just about everybody else in that group, and they would all agree. So,
Well, they must
There
have been
was
trading
one
in
fixed,
players,
but-
though.
You know what? Yeah, you can be
yeah, the
vetoed
guy
on
that
it.
finished dead last, right?
You know, no. So there was maybe a trade that was made during the Thursday night doubles at Heritage, and it was based off our game, and nobody vetoed it, so we got that trade through. And then I might have got a little bit of a landslide trade against somebody else, but he offered it to me. I just had to accept it, and
So
But-
such
so
garbage.
Isn't there a veto? There's a veto.
yeah,
right?
there was a veto. Yeah, it was half the league had to veto it, and half the league thought it was a great trade. So
That's a very
life moves on.
diplomatic way of doing business. I mean, it's only fair. If if you didn't like it, you should have spoke up.
It's just funny that Tim almost lost to a guy that doesn't even look at the whole thing all season. So
I would have been okay with that. You know what? It just proves that sometimes
Liar.
people get lucky, right? Well, Carey has Vladdy and he has Judge, so he has a pretty good solid team.
Well, you gotta know how to draft.
Has he hit it yet? Has he hit his big home run yet?
He's
He's
not
up
hit
right
it
now. He's up
So
right
like
now.
18 games or something now without one.
How many games?
Forever.
He has another eight more games left, I think, something like that.
This is seven more.
7 more.
Right. Are the Jays going to make it?
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Just matter.
I think
whether they-
3 is the number, but that means
for
the
that.
Rays has to win out and a bunch of other stuff has
and
to
Baltimore
happen. So.
and Baltimore too.
So they would
just like
have a
home
wild. They
field,
wouldn't be a
right?
wild card spot. They will just be in the wild card game.
They have top wild card spot at the moment. There's 3 wild cards in baseball now on each side, so it's a little confusing for people if you don't follow baseball. There's a bunch of rule changes over the last couple seasons, so
Yeah, and they're gonna have a bigger bag next year. That'd be crazy.
yeah, it's so stupid. Oh, I hate it.
It's an extra 6 inches on each side,
No, it's only like 2 inches on each side.
but
so
it's
like,
much bigger though. It's a big difference.
well, for sure, it's
That's
definitely
coming
bigger.
from a guy who won't let anybody measure his bowling balls.
All of
Yeah,
them-
but
Clearly
he has no
don't
idea what
understand
inches are.
size.
Is that similar to bowling? Like, is that going to be like a technical difference in bowling that will make a huge difference, like going from 18 to 17 inches? You know, having a bag that's going to be 2 inches bigger, or is it really just safety for players of not broken
safety.
ankles? Or what's
safety,
their?
I think it's safety. You know, running to first, not messing up your ankle. I do think there's a chance that that steals happen a little bit better because they are a little bit bigger, a little bit closer together. So yeah.
It's such a stupid rule. If they were so worried about player safety, they would just introduce the safety bag. It's so dumb making the bag bigger. They're
get it.
professionals. Don't step on that side of the bag. Like, how many broken ankles have there ever been? It's like minuscule.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't know who
crazy,
came
though.
up with
It's
that stupid rule.
Oh, he hit it. He hit it right now. He hit 61. There we go. It's out of the park.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge making history.
Live, the live call on podcast 145.
in the bullpen, so nobody has that ball.
Where were you when Aaron Judge hit 61?
Yeah.
Now he's
I think
just tied with him, though, right?
Yeah, I just tied with him.
Well, he
So-
needs
Still
to
short
beat
of
him,
the
so now we
record,
need to
though.
know that. Maybe-
The whole team came out.
Yeah, you're right.
Stupid. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's not the
Pro
record.
League.
Yeah. So, anyways, let's move on. Maybe we had some bowling this weekend. How about those average pros, eh? Like I see, Adam got a little fangirl there
Yes.
over his shoulder there. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I can't believe this thing cost me $10, but it's worth every penny. It's my buddy Mark Doss, and you know the guy from the commercial. If you need to put a tagline on the happy Mexican, and it's still numbered one out of 10. So it's and after his performance this weekend, I'm sure it's worth maybe a nickel.
He did, eh? Couple of 2 pins, and then that yank was coming.
You know, I will say the average pros, for those people who didn't think they were serious or wanted to play or didn't have a game, they played really well. You know, they almost beat the Lumberjacks, held their own against the next gen, like two of the best teams in that division. They should be pretty proud of themselves for it. And right now they're staying third in their division.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good, guys.
And obviously, they'd want to sneak a few more points, but they certainly played, and they just need a couple more things to go their way and a couple more shots. But now they've gotten their feet wet. They know what it's all about. You know, people in the building. You know, you guys had a whole bunch of people there. Dream Crushers were playing on the other side, so you're right. You know, they're in and ready to go. Next gen, though, hey, I like the makeup of that next gen team, and couple of pulls on both games by Des. She did the double pull both games, even pulled Haley after throwing a strike, right? And just had a gut feeling and got to make a move after, she did a strike, I think, in 6, maybe in 5, and Des pulled Haley, and then Jenna came in and steadied that ship and was and won the match. And it was really just Des thinking that just a call, but made the double pull in both games, got all the players in, and there we are. Next gen, 13 points out of 16.
Yeah, that's huge. Big start for them.
It really.
The Lumberjacks had 5, They didn't have any spares there to play with. They probably would have made some subs, getting one win, one loss. But, overall, a decent weekend for Lumberjacks. Again, their first time in the league playing out of there, and cameras all set up, guys are going, and what it's like. So good weekend over on that side, the home hardware division side for sure.
Very good. Yeah, I was. I didn't watch much of the other ones, but I knew some of the good play was at Fred Martin. He played really well there.
Yeah.
Tyler obviously had a great match against Scott, right?
Well, Tyler had a 360, and then he sat on the bench, came in halfway through, and had 190 for 5 frames. The guy's averaging 380 for the Pro League, for 15 frames.
Unreal.
Right. But Scott Rice, like you say, Tim, had a great weekend, right? Jordan played well too. Had a long leash in that second game, but ended up, being able to throw a triple later on as well.
Yeah, Henry as well played really well.
Henry got
realistically, those average pros, they're one big game away from Fred from taking that second one probably 6-2, right? So it's definitely some great competition.
Yep. And then you guys over on your side, Dream Crush has kind of cleaned up a little bit there, 7-7. Looked like you guys make a sub each game too, but
no, we just played with what we had on the score sheet. The Northern Knockout match was really close, came down to the 10th frame.
Oh yeah, is that right?
Yeah, could have easily went the other way. So they played really well.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, I didn't see that one.
Panorama played really good against Northern, and then when they played us, they didn't play the greatest. We didn't play the greatest. We just snuck out the right matches. So it was all pretty good.
We'll get some new
setup was phenomenal too.
I want to put together some stats pack of scores and team totals and all this stuff that will go into there, and as we continue to build the data for the league, we'll start getting more information to dissect, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So Tim Wiseman's match was today against Derek Gall on the WCBT. If you haven't seen it, it's on there. How'd that go for you, Tim?
Well, I won.
Spoiler.
Yeah, I won. It's nothing to be writing home about. I lost both my games by total pinfall, but I won by points. Derek's match I had pretty solid. He just finished up really strong on that one. Obviously, I always say I play against Derek a lot lately. It just sucks playing Derek because we're good friends, but it is what it is, and you play well. I'm not very necessarily enthused with the last couple words on the tour, commentators, but I'll live with that, and that's something for motivation down the road for me. So, not really, not very pleased with some of the words. So, but it is what it is. I didn't play very well.
Yeah. But you got the win.
I got the win. Yeah.
Win's a win.
Well, it sounds like we need to go. It sounds like everybody needs to go watch it.
Yeah, what they say about you, Tim? What's going on here?
You know what? I felt like it was already premeditated that some people thought I was going to already lose the match with the way I was playing, and I just that's how I sort of took it. I could be taking it wrong fully too, and I just it is. I mean, Mitch is a great player, so I know I wasn't playing very well. I had to, pick up my game for whenever I played Mitch in obviously the next match, right? So.
Well, they gave you the words of warning, like you better play better, or else you're going to lose for him. Or if he keeps this shit up, there's no chance of him winning. Is that
pretty much? Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. You got some words. You got some fire for next time, I guess. Hey, that's what commentators are supposed to do: is stir the pot.
For sure. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I know it's nothing malicious by any means, knowing him, right? But he just says it like it is sometimes, right? So.
It's funny, even like in the 5PL, I've had a couple of guys that have texted me and says, "Man, you got to stop being so nice. You got to be like, there needs to be a heel in wrestling terms, of somebody just got to be a jerk and call everybody out and say you're not good. It's a terrible spot. That's awful, and you shouldn't even be on the lanes. And what are you doing there?
It's made for bowling that way, right? I mean, you can't.
Yeah.
No different in. I don't know who I was speaking with, but Henry's chirps, and getting the people going on against average pros, and how I banter about the Dream Crushers against the Bombers. People love to hate teams and love certain things, and it'd be a boring. Well, it is a boring sport when you don't do any of that stuff, right? So you kind of do need to have a little bit of both, right? So yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, if you want to hear how Tim was slighted, go watch his episode. That's awesome.
We need some TikTok soundbite. Yeah, Tyson Nelson, are you out there? Can you go get this for me, please?
Yeah. Okay, well, we might as well move on and get to our guests here. But first, you can become a patron at patreon.com/5pinuniverse for as little as $2 a month. You can change your donation every month if you wish. It helps us bring these podcasts to you and bring guests from across the country and across the sport. And we get to hear their tales and all the good stuff. So, without further ado, our special guest. I'm going to butcher your last name, Meagan. I've known you a long time. Galliano?
There's a C in there.
Sweet. Gallicano.
Not that hard.
Welcome to the show.
That's how it's spelled.
Galileo. Isn't there something like Galileo?
Galileo. I've been called a lot worse. I was Russian for a day, Gallianchuk, or what did Brad Glynn call me? Galiciano, I think. So I've been
really? Jesus.
What did Galileo do? Is Galileo an architect or an artist, or what? Galileo?
He was an astronomer.
Astronomer there. Galileo Galilei. That's his name.
Perfect.
Yeah. Wow. Sorry.
Tangent.
Jane prefers Galabango, so I'll stick
Need
with
one
that.
of those the more you know from NBC.
Oh, Jesus.
Reading Rainbow.
Yeah. So, Meagan, we might as well start with the latest thing that you had going on was you walked away with an MBT title.
I did. Rather unexpected, for sure. Very excited, nonetheless. But I'm only just getting back into bowling again since I was injured. So I've been kind of taking my last couple of tournaments with a grain of salt and, just getting back into the swing of things. And I apparently found the swing of things for a weekend.
Yeah, very dominant performance too, running both sides.
Yeah, I hit a wall in that B final, and I actually had to tell myself, go away, tiredness, because I could feel that I was just exhausted. So had a moment of just suck it up. You've only got a couple more games of this, but no, I felt really good throughout the day. Actually, surprisingly, probably the best that I've felt competing, which is saying something because I've had some experiences where I've been really confident, really comfortable. But yeah, it was an experience. It was super exciting, honestly. Felt really good. The win is obviously awesome, but the fact that I could come back into bowling and still be competitive was such a huge win for me. I was really, really excited.
How's the body after?
So I was expecting a lot worse. I was she's going to be dicey for a little bit, but no more than, I bowled 7 games of bowling sore. Everything else was pretty good. So I took the Monday to rest and was right back at it come Tuesday.
Excellent.
Yeah. Also surprising.
Yeah, very.
Who'd you end up beating in the final, Meagan?
Steve Gardner. He's only just recently come back into bowling. We had a brief chat afterwards. I believe he bowled in YBC and things like that, and he's only made a recent comeback into bowling. But no, he snuck in the last spot of the cut, and he bowled phenomenal the whole day. It was a blast to bowl with him. Honestly, we had a lot of laughs. I mean, considering it was first the B final and then the final, we had a lot of laughs, which is always nice to have in a in a match, but had to kind of amp up the pressure coming down to that last game. I was like, all right, no more having fun. This last game, I gotta put my head down.
Well, it's nice to be able to lean on some of that past experience, especially in that type of a moment, that deep into a tournament, right? Kind of to know how you're going to react, even if you haven't been in that moment for quite some time, and really, like you said, put the head down, pedal the metal, and finish it off. So, yeah, real congrats on that. Real good turnout from the look of it too.
Yeah, we were usually the bowling calendar here is like really, really jam packed. So it makes actually hosting tournaments a little bit difficult. So this September weekend that we end up having it, we do end up seeing a little bit lower numbers simply because, it's back to school, it's wedding season. Like there's all of these different things that are going on that kind of drives numbers down. And I know even like just in the days before, we were like, it's gonna be a low turnout, but no, we had 92 entries, I think it was. So yeah, it was a lot more than we were expecting at the moment. But no, we've had a lot of really good turnout for all of our tournaments, and it's really exciting to see because it's kind of, I don't want to say that it's changed the landscape of bowling here, but it's made such a huge impact because the biggest thing for Newfoundland is it's so hard to get off the island. It's expensive. It's a long time. And realistically, most of us aren't going to be able to make it out to, a WCBT event or even a club tour event just because the time and money it takes to get there. Like you're going to have to go, really deep in order to make it financially feasible to go anywhere. And while everybody else is kind of elevating their game when it comes to competition, we didn't want to have that be Newfoundland falling behind. So it's a really nice way to see competition that's not in like a league, right? Because yes, you're competing in league, but it's not the same, right? So I think it's elevated the game in Newfoundland, which is huge because it was already so fantastic. But it's also prepared us a little bit more for going away. And that's why I think we've seen in the most recent years some really big results coming out of Newfoundland in all aspects because, we're getting out and experiencing that competition a little bit more.
So especially on the female side, right?
Yeah. The women in Newfoundland are, I could go on for this entire podcast about how fantastic the women in Newfoundland are. So we'll keep that brief. But no, there's a lot of incredible talent from the women here. There always has been. I think it's only been recognized recently, but it goes back decades and decades where they were knocking on the door for a long time. A smaller province often overlooked, not necessarily intentionally, but you think of the small little province out in the rock in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, right? But no, the fact that they are finally being recognized for the insane amount of talent is so nice to see because they're phenomenal. They really are.
Yeah, you guys have some really great talent that's older, and you have some really great talent that's really, really young, right?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to retire in the next couple of years because we got some young ones coming up that are just gonna absolutely destroy everyone.
Isn't it crazy? Courtney Lucas is still young, but she's older. Looks old compared to the rest of the ones that are playing out there.
It's
right?
insane. The team that just won in at nationals. Yeah. Erica, well, not leg anymore. We call her legs forever. Erica Murphy was like the oldest person on that team, and she's like 32, 33, and like the oldest by a long shot. So like when your veteran by many years is in her early 30s, like we got some young ones, that's for sure, and more coming up. Like we had a really, really dominating performance at YBC and the Youth Challenge. The Newfoundland team for the Youth Challenge went undefeated. I'm not sure if that has ever happened before, and if it has, like very, very rare. And we had some double gold winners. Amy Harris won double gold at nationals. Had a lot of women and young men coming up, but obviously my heart is with the women. A lot of good things happening out of Newfoundland, especially in the next couple of years.
How many events does the NBT run?
Sorry, what was that? I think you kind of cut out a bit.
How many events is the NBT running these days?
Typically, we run 2 main events a year. So usually the end of the season and the beginning of the season. We also usually run a youth event. Obviously, we haven't been able to in the past couple of years just because of COVID and everything like that. And we also run a memorial tournament for the late, great Bobby O. That's coming up next month, actually. And that's actually a fundraiser that we do for the local cancer clinic that he was
awesome.
He was a big advocate for. Obviously, they made a really big impact in his life. So yeah, the last one we had was the very first one, and we managed to donate $5,500 actually to the cancer clinic, which was excellent. So send your donations in for the next one, everyone. So yeah, we usually try to run a youth event, 2 main events, and now the Bobby O Memorial Tournament. A couple little pop-ups here and there. We'll like throw like, oh, this is a random Friday night. Let's come down and throw some money on the table and run little mini ones. But yeah, 4, I guess.
I love the I like the Survivor when they do that. I think that's really neat. And I also like, obviously I'm a big fan of the hybrid doubles that Ontario did, and we've done it in the past. I think that's a great event as well. So they do unique ones. They're not the same kind of event that we normally would see. And the Survivor one would be really cool if we ever ran something like that out here.
We try to kind of change things up, especially because a lot of people here never have experienced like a major cash tournament. So a lot of the like ins and outs of things that are working, people were gobsmacked, like what is going on? Like we don't get this. So I think Melissa and Shane's big takeaway from it was like we want to expose people to as many different things as we can, and they're always trying to add in a couple of different new things. We just ran the hybrid doubles the first time and it was a huge success. Everybody was talking how much they love that, and definitely think that could be added to the rotation. But yeah, the Survivor event was super fun. Super fun. Another fan favorite, that's for sure.
How does that one work? I can't remember.
It's like a bunch of pods and you have to like win out of your pods. So similar to like a heritage format, I guess, but like you keep moving up and you have to survive all the way up. And it's just a really, really interesting event. A lot of it is like who is in your pod. You see a lot of different names making their way to the finals, which is really cool to see. Not to take away from like the talent of, the big names, but you get kind of boring seeing the same people win all the time. So it is really nice to see a lot of other names like getting that experience and making their way up and making lifelong bowlers out of them.
Yeah. Did you hear that, Dream Crushers? It gets boring watching you guys win all the time.
Yeah, somebody commented it and said we were just running the Live Tour. That's what you got. I got a text message over that.
Wow.
Well, it's not really that way at all. But I'm like I said, I'm excited. What's going on in Newfoundland? I think the NBT thing is really made a huge difference for you guys out there.
I totally agree. I have to say, like, we've seen probably the biggest turnout for our main events, like the Open, the Masters, the Open especially, the biggest turnout we've seen in decades. And I think a large part is due to getting out and getting that competitive exposure, getting that spark back. Because I know a lot of us get kind of like, oh, it's bowling, big whoop. But, when you get that competition and you like that fire again, makes you want to kind of work towards a new goal, get back into the swing of things. And that's why we're seeing people who maybe hung up the shoes years ago coming back because they're like, all right, seeing all of these tournaments makes me want to get back into it. So really excited to see what the next few years holds for Newfoundland now that we're as far removed from COVID as we can be, I guess.
Yeah. Do you guys, like, I seen it on the tour, but do you find when you hold the tour, obviously you're going to have yourself and Melissa Manor and, Brad and Shane and, all those guys always be playing most of the events, the NBT, the Masters, the Open. But your value on the MBT is obviously more, I think, cost effective. It only costs you like $60 or 80. Or is it $60 entry or $80 entry? $60,
yeah.
right? So you get the casual player, the player that might not necessarily try out and play these events, and now they're doing well. Like the gentleman who played you in the finals. Now all of a sudden they feel it's the opposite. Instead of you guys getting the drive and getting getting higher competition, the other ones feel more comfortable, right? And
Absolutely.
They're willing to play the Masters. They're willing to play the Open because now they're like, got my feet wet. Now it's like it's not so bad actually that I thought it was, and I can contribute or I can compete. So I think it's a win-win for both sides there.
Oh, absolutely. I think going into it, because I think at the very beginning, and I might be completely wrong with this, but I believe there was talks of turning the MBT into like an extension of the WCBT or something along those lines, like, get the $200 entry, et cetera, et cetera. And I think Melissa and Shane had both discussed it and were like, that's all fine and dandy. And don't get me wrong, these big tournaments are great for the big areas and the big populations, but their goal and their vision, I think, for the MBT was, you win a little bit of money if you do well, but if you lose, you're not losing out on very much. But more than anything, it's getting that experience, getting that competitive drive, getting a little bit more, like you said, get your feet wet and get in the door. And that's, I think, why we're seeing so many of these reemergences from past bowlers or current bowlers who are like, I could take it or leave it. There's a lot of bowlers that I've heard recently that are just like, just watching it like gets my fire going, and it's done a lot for Newfoundland for sure. Big props to Melissa and Shane.
Yeah.
Melissa and I don't know who the other guy is. Yeah, I gotta be
Yeah,
Do you see anybody coming in from Nova Scotia or New Brunswick or making holidays out of this? I mean, obviously, like you said, the prize money may not be there for somebody to come in and play for the money, but maybe there's an opportunity that people will come and play, from out of province too. Do you see that at all?
JB has been in a handful of times, and I know he's said a lot of great things. We just had a nice long chat a couple weeks ago, actually, and he has a lot of really nice things to say about the MBT. We have people that might come in from Western Newfoundland, things like that, because even though Newfoundland's small, it's not that small. Driving across the island is still a good 10 or 13 hours to get over there. So we have people coming in from there. We haven't seen any major imports, I guess, but I think largely due to the fact it's not a big cash grab, and that's not what the MBT is about. And much like it's hard for us to pay money to go to the WCBT events, etc., vice versa, we totally get it. But if anyone wants to come, we got
it's a cool model though. Your model and your focus though, like you said, is for development and for exposure. It's not about the money. And I think that's an important thing for the tour to know that and to set that. And I think that's why it's a success and across the country at other tournaments too.
Yeah, I love the MBT and what it is and what it stands for, and all of the different little side events. I haven't been able to compete in all of them because I haven't been able to bowl in a number of years. But even just watching them, I'm like, man, this is such a cool concept. I can't wait to be able to compete in this. So I think that's another side of things. It's just exposing, I guess, a little more than just the 10 frames of is my score better than yours. There's a lot of different formats that you can maximize as well.
Oh, and I know even at this event, there was a Wednesday event, and because I remember we were actually on podcast discussing it, and it did seem early in a week for a big tournament to have a Wednesday event, and who knows, maybe that's where there could be a semi-high roller for any of the people that really want to get into an 8-player $250 or $300 entry type of scenario, right? That that kind of gets that gambling aspect.
So that's actually exactly what the Wednesday tournament was. It was a high roller event, and it was $250.
Oh, there you go.
Nailed it.
Some reason I thought it was a doubles event or something. Maybe was that the Thursday?
Yeah, the Thursday we did the hybrid doubles.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is just like scheduling wise. It was a lot to try and cram everything all together and, bowl a shift, bowl a doubles event. Like it was a little easier to be like, okay, here's a couple hours on Wednesday, here's a couple hours Thursday, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, we did a pins game format the first time that Newfoundland has seen it. And that was the $250 entry. And that was a lot of fun. I got to bowl in that and was nice to kind of get in the door, try it out a bit and make a little bit of money. But yeah, we're doing a lot of different things. And I think we'd had another high roller event as well. Same kind of concept, like a couple $100. And they've always done really well, filled within minutes when they're posted. So definitely something they're going to continue in the future, I'd say. Mixed reviews about the pins game format, but I think that's a lot of people have the same thoughts of the pins game. But
it's definitely a different mentality going into it.
Mm-hmm.
I even had a couple of conversations with people, though. I think it's something that that we could all learn from and like adopt in our regular bowling anyway. Because like ultimately, you might need to throw 5 strikes in a row to finish the game or win, but you can't do it unless you throw the first one, right? So it kind of gets you in that, okay, it's a frame by frame, and all that matters is the frame that I'm currently playing versus the rest of it. And yeah, I think it's a nice change from the regular 10 frames.
Kind of expand on that. I think it's if we can learn just to reset after a bad frame, just to kind of clear your mind and go into the next frame. I think that's probably the biggest change and the biggest adaptation, I guess, that's required for it. And that definitely something that we could all, evolve into, standard, league play, tournament play.
Totally agree.
We don't really practice that, do we? I mean, or do you guys, would you guys practice that before maybe a tour finals, frame by frame?
Never.
No,
I never did. No, but it does make a lot of sense, right? Because every frame is its own match, right? It doesn't matter what the next frame is going to entail. You have to win this one. If you don't win this one, then you have to focus on the next one.
I think the big thing too is like, you go up, okay, you punch a head pin. Well, you can still win that frame, but you got to make sure that you're getting every single one of those pins. Yes, Mitch Davies, pinners are winners. Right? Like you could win frames with, 10 or 15 pins, but you have to be able to make all of those pins count. Obviously, strikes are going to win you the most amount of tournaments, but, making those spares and picking up those pins are what's going to keep you in them.
Yeah, it's a different. I think us playing all these cash events or whatever, even the Open and Masters, you play for total. You always play for total, right? And I think I'm always thinking, okay, I'm a ball down. I'm 2 balls down, and then they throw a spare, I throw a strike. Okay, I'm only 1 ball down. You're always thinking about that. The tour finals is a little bit different. Obviously, I think I have to work on it. We don't play it enough, but I find, for example, if I punch, there's more pressure to clean up that sides because if the other guy punches, then they have to, or opens, and then they have to clean it up, right? But then, if, for example, let's talk about Brad's match. When I played him, he shoots 8. All of a sudden, I'm playing that next match just to get pins, right? Does that make sense? Where maybe it's the wrong mentality, but you're just thinking, okay, I can get 10, or I can get 15. It's not hard to do that, right? Where maybe you should be more focused on just completing your follow through and whatever else you're doing, right? It's a little bit different that way, I find. And then when the match is over, it's kind of a little bit, when it's out of reach, it's a little bit, it's just different. It's just a different mentality, I find. You try to win your match when you're even frames, and when you're up a frame, you want to make sure you put the pressure on them. It's a little bit different format, I find. Yeah.
I think it is so key. It is so key to, much like you said, be careful not to fall into that pitfall where it's 10 is easy to get. Actually, hilarious. Yeah. Julie Hughes is probably watching and laughing. We were playing in a match on the Wednesday high roller event. We both were throwing really well. It was 300 plus on the board going into 10, and she finished the 10 frame with 10. All I needed was literally 11 pins to win the match. And Julie started writing down my name, and I'm like, 10 pins, I got this. I threw an 8 frame.
Oh.
right?
Wow.
So like it is. I think it's a really good mentality to have, frame by frame, but also, like you were saying, be careful not to fall into it's only 10 pins. Like, I can get that.
Yeah.
Anybody can go, head pin through the whole wing of deuce. Like, easy frame to happen. It's happened to all of us. So, I definitely took a lot away from that one, too. I was like, all right, gotta change that mentality a little bit.
So, other than physically playing that format, right, or practicing, playing that format, what else could you really do to prepare yourself for that format, other than experience?
Experience, and I think we've even touched on it briefly. I think a lot of it is the very overlooked mental practice. Really big passion of mine, obviously. I think it's really easy for all of us to fall into the, oh crap, I need to throw this strike. Oh crap, I need to throw this, et cetera, et cetera. And then feeling all of that pressure. I mean, how many times do you say, how easy is it to throw a strike in practice? But when you need to throw a strike, that's when you're amped up, when you're nervous, all of those different emotions. But if we work on that mental game, we're able to kind of channel those motions. And Brad Glynn says it a lot, marry the difference between the eustress and the distress, because it's stressful all around. The difference is a lot of us turn that stress into distress rather than using positive stress, which is eustress, right? So I think in order to practice going down and being like, oh, we're going to play frame for frame is probably not the most beneficial practice. But working on that mental game, I think will help prepare you for the pins game format, a lot of other formats, regular bowling. It's very often overlooked, I think.
Especially at this level where, realistically, the mental game is probably 90-some%.
A million percent.
Right? It's pretty much everything at this level, right? The reps of many years of bowling are always going to be there. The experience of maybe a quick line change or something along those lines to make that quick change to get you back on track. But all of it's mental.
1,000%. I actually did this exercise with the Saskatchewan Bowling School, and I said, describe what a hockey player would do to practice. Describe what a soccer player does to practice. Describe what a wrestler does to practice. Roman Reigns, by the way, that should be one. And everyone will answer, skating or, ball handling, et cetera, et cetera. But they never really talk about, you have to practice on that mental game, because when you get to that elite level, everybody plays. For the most part, they can all play at the exact same level. The difference is, and why you see a lot of the same names appearing on those podiums, on those winner circles, whatever it may be, is simply their mental fortitude, because that's really the only difference that is separating the physicality of all of it. So definitely think that it's something that we all can benefit from training. Yeah. That's my passion.
I get sometimes confused when people talk about the mental side of what specifically are we supposed to be doing? Are we like reading books, imagery, watching YouTube, practicing things? I just feel like in a mental, frame of mind and thinking gets a little bit too vague and ballooned. You know what I mean? I want to get round into the actual details of specifically what are we doing to work on mental side of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think a pitfall of mental training is that everybody has to follow the same mold. Everyone has to be doing visualization. Everybody has to be doing this. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of benefits in visualization. I'm a huge visualization kind of person. There's all sorts of different other tools, though, and not everything is going to work for everybody. Visualization may work for me, might not work for you or whomever. Most importantly, and the thing that I think that is something that everyone can benefit from, is being able to ground themselves and center themselves and be able to really control the emotions, because that is the biggest difference in those stressful situations. You feel the emotion. Tracy had used this example before, and I think it is the biggest takeaway that anyone could learn. The event itself is not what is causing your pressure. It's what you perceive the event as being that causes that pressure. right? Going up and throwing a strike in the 10th frame to win a gold medal is no different than throwing a strike in practice, in league, in whatever. The only difference is our perception of what that means. So if we're able to understand that and control our emotions in that moment, then there is no difference than throwing, the strike in practice, the strike in league. So there's a lot of different techniques that I think are available to people. And the biggest thing I always tell any person that I work with, any of the kids, any of the adults, is to experiment, because something might seem really, really stupid. Visualization, when I first started, I was like, this is the stupidest thing ever. Like, I can't see any of this is so dumb. Like, not doing it. But like, once you find something that actually works for you, and when you practice enough, it allows you to understand yourself a little bit better, and then put it into practice in real life. I've actually been experiencing a lot more after my injury. I had to go to therapy simply due to the nature of how I was injured. And a lot of it is harnessing all of those emotions, understanding it, allowing it to actually live in our body, and then let it leave. Because I think we're so used to just pressing everything down, which is why you start seeing major athletes, the Simone Biles of the world, who have been pushing this stress down over and over again, and it finally just kind of reaches the top and explodes. So the key, I think, takeaway from my rambling, which I could do for the rest of the night, is find something that works for you. Don't necessarily think that, because Meagan visualizes, I have to visualize. Just because, Adam takes his time on the lane doesn't mean I have to take my time on the lane. Like, everybody has their own thing that works for them. What I will suggest is talk to the people around you, especially the legends of the game, or the people who've been in this game for as long as we have been. They're a wealth of knowledge, and even though you might think that you've reached the pinnacle of your game, the pinnacle of your career, the pinnacle of your life, whatever it may be, you can always learn from the people around you, because everybody experiences a little bit differently.
Excellent point. I've for one have started to try to get into like the visualization and the mental imagery, and I think I was probably where you were to start, where I my mind can't see it, or it'll work for 10 minutes, and then I try it again. I get very, very frustrated with it. But to your point, it's a matter of keep trying things. Keep that routine, keep the breathing, right? I think breathing is probably one of the most underrated tools that we have in our game, just to again, calm the nerves, right? So routine, I still think is probably the biggest thing that we can use. But I agree 100%. We got to keep trying things, and reach out to, especially not necessarily the so-called legends of the game, but the people that you see that are successful. Like, watch everybody around. There's a reason why some of these players are so successful, and they're almost all willing to have that chat and give you their experience.
Maybe there's an idea for Tom's next book, and Tom, forgive me, maybe it's in your book, but it'd be cool to have a list of, say, 20 players or 20 whatever number, and say, what does mental preparation mean to you, and what are you doing to achieve that success, or and then you maybe get 20 different variations, like Meagan says. Something different works for everybody, but what a cool tool that would be for us all to be able to look and say, hey, Adam does this, Carrie does this, and they're totally different. Meagan does this, Mitch does this, Jeff Young does this, and everybody does something different. I mean, you said some cool key words there, Adam, like routine and breathing and stuff like that. I mean, those are all the bullet points, but I find it sometimes hard for me to find what are those specific things that somebody should be doing. Instead, it just becomes too much of a vague, big blanket that.
Yeah, I think
I'm a huge advocate as well for routine, 1,000,000%, and the breathing. If you watch any of my bowling ever, it's like the most exaggerated breathing of all time. Like, so totally 100% agree.
I think mental game is obviously important when you're playing well, but I think it's even more important when you're struggling. And how do you get back into it, right?
Bingo.
I think that's the difference between people that you see, always making cuts to the people that you see might not make them as often, right? I find it to be huge, right? Because those ones figure it out a lot sooner and limit that by just their mental toughness and how they handle it, for sure.
I have to say that was one of the biggest things that kind of helped me overcome my injury without like going into the history of all of it. I'm a paramedic and I got attacked at work and ended up having a severe neck injury. I actually still can't feel my whole right arm, which is not exactly ideal, seeing as how I'm a right-handed bowler. But trying to like relearn how to throw the ball and the cues that I would normally get from my body, I couldn't feel them anymore. So it was really, really frustrating. And during my practice sessions, I'd be like I can't figure it out. I can't feel what I'm doing. This is so frustrating. I'm never going to get anywhere. And I had to take a moment and actually utilize all of those mental toughness skills to be like, this is just something that you can use to grow, take your time. And like I said, take it with a grain of salt. Don't expect you to be back to 100%, the second you step out on the lane. But in those like really tough, struggling moments, that's when you just have to find that power in yourself to be like, okay, like it's not the end of the world. I might not win, I might not throw a good ball, but like it's really not the end of the world. And take that with a grain of salt. I could say that for the rest of the time. But yeah, that mental toughness, I think if it wasn't for my experience with my mental training, I don't think that I would have been able to be back bowling. And if I did, it wouldn't be as quickly as I managed it. So huge proponent in my recovery journey for sure.
Do you get to do some of that as part of your work as well? I mean, being a paramedic, you have to learn about your patients that you potentially could be going in. So it would be one of the subjects. But at the same time, during your recovery, you probably had to also seek some advice and do some of your own personal journey in that recovery sessions and that therapy and that, sports psychologists or just all that, right? So, kind of need to have both sides of it. You need to.
And it is really strange because, as a medical professional, I mean, I deal with mental health struggles a lot. I have a lot of training in it. But then to be on the other side of it, even though that medical professional is talking to me being like, these are all the things you need to do, sometimes it's hard to listen to yourself, I guess. So it's definitely a unique experience to have it on both sides. But I will say that a lot of the mental fortitude that I developed in my career has been really beneficial when it comes to bowling, because in my job, it really is like a life or death situation, whereas bowling isn't. Okay, I missed the middle. Okay, I don't win. Nobody's going to die over it. So it's kind of given me a new outlook on bowling itself, that like it's really not the end of the world.
Maybe
it's
something that was needed
Pardon me?
Maybe it's something that was needed for your complete bowling journey, right?
I agree. I always thought that I was pretty tough when it came to bowling. I often bowled like in the anchor position, et cetera, but going through the experience that I've been through, I think is actually going to make me a more well-rounded competitor, because I've been through hell and back, realistically. And I think a lot of it too, as competitors, especially at this elite level, whether we believe it or not, we 1,000,000% take bowling for granted. It's a thing that we do. It's a thing that we're good at, and that's it. But when it's completely taken away from you and all of a sudden you can't do it anymore, and it's this huge identifying piece of who you are, your world kind of falls apart, right? And you're like, oh my God, I would do anything to be able to just bowl again. So among all the growth, the understanding my body, the understanding my mind, I also have this newfound respect for bowling. Not that I didn't respect it before, but it was just always something that I was good at and that I did. But then not being able to do that just really fired up that passion again. I'm like, I need to be thankful for every time that I get to compete, that I get to, wear a medal around my neck, that I get to take a trophy home. I need to really, really be thankful for all of the opportunities that I have to do this, because there are a lot of other people who don't get this chance.
Very well said.
Yeah, good on you. Should we go back to the beginning of Meagan's career? Maybe talk about, Meagan, how you got started in bowling and where it's, all the early years, and we'll work our way a little bit into, Opens and Masters, because you've obviously had lots of success there too. So maybe take us back.
Yeah, it's my beginnings are probably a little bit different than most. My grandmother was a volunteer for Special Olympics for decades and decades, and growing up, we were never the most financially comfortable family. So bowling was cheap, and my parents were like, "Here's something that I think it was $150 for the season." At that point, they're like, "Go at her, have fun." And we never really got into competitive bowling. We bowled like local tournaments and things like that, but I never actually got into competitive bowling until my last couple of years of YBC. And I moved to a larger center and made a 4-steps team that was really competitive. And we went away to nationals and we took home the gold. And I was like, oh man, this is so much fun. Like, where have I been my whole life? It's not just these local little tournaments that we can bowl in. And after that, it was kind of, that was it. I was hooked and started showing up to more tournaments and went to it, had the pleasure of being able to represent BC and YBC for the last 2 years of my YBC career, and just kind of rolled into the Open from there. Masters was always really expensive in BC where I grew up, and I never really competed in that until I had decided I was moving to Newfoundland. So I wanted my first Masters experience to be in BC. So then I started doing the Open and the Masters, and that's literally how everything started. Just, this is a cheap thing that we can put you into. And then I enjoyed it.
No, Meagan, you originally was at Cloverdale?
I did bowl at Cloverdale, yeah.
Yeah, it was Cloverdale. Cloverdale's no longer around now.
I know, sad.
I think it's a church now, I believe, but...
I actually have no idea. And the sad part is I haven't even been back to BC since 2019 because of COVID. So yeah. I haven't seen my hometown for a couple of years, that's for sure. But yeah, Cloverdale was a very, very small center. We had a very small YBC program. And I think I never really noticed that there was something other than just, bowling at Cloverdale or bowling at these little local tournaments, or 4-steps was just a thing that we could go and bowl in the zones and have a good time. Like, it never occurred to me in my younger years that it was something that you could actually compete in and like go away and do things. So once I moved to Scottsdale, actually, which I think at the time was the largest YBC program in the country, and if not, it was very close. When I went there, and all of a sudden there's, hundreds of kids bowling around, that was when it was like this, oh, I get it now. I get it.
Yes, for sure. And you spoke about participating in the Open. Obviously, you qualified for Masters and Open for singles many times, but I think your first goal was in 2013 on the ladies team in BC.
It was
out in Newfoundland, and I think you were emergency spare, if I remember correctly.
I was coming out as a spectator, and a couple of days before, someone had to drop out of the team, and they'd asked me to join the team, and of course I'm going to say yes. And it was my first opportunity to bowl with those ladies. We have obviously in the lower mainland of BC, there are 3 zones that are really, really close together. So obviously I got to see everybody. I knew everybody, but we kind of all had our own zones that we played in. And this was not my original zone. So it was the first opportunity I had to play with those ladies. And we just had the best time. Winning was, I think, the tip of the iceberg. But no, it was just such a great time, and was actually the first time that I came to Newfoundland, and I decided to make a trip of it. So I stayed by myself for several days downtown in a hostel, and made some friends, and was like, this is a pretty cool place. And here I am almost 8 years later.
Who was on that team at Nationals? The BC ladies?
Oh boy. I feel very, very old. There was multiple Lori Belancic. I think she actually just commented there. It was super fun. Trish was on that team. Charlene was on that team, who also now lives in Newfoundland. Oh my goodness gracious.
Carol was?
Yes, thank you. No, Carol was not on that team.
Now you're going. Let me pull it up. I'll help a sister out here. Yeah.
Kim, you know, and plus you know all the stats too. You know what the wins and the averages and all the details.
Lori, you're right. Yeah, Lori, Charlene, Trish, Meagan, Lori, and Vicky.
Oh my gosh, Vicky! I can't believe I forgot Vicky because she actually had won. I believe it was the very last time the BC ladies had won gold. I believe she was on that team. How did I forget Vicky? I feel like I just sprouted a gray. No, that was a blast. It was honestly so much fun. I think the coolest part was like we kind of went in under the radar. Nobody really expected us to do much, and we just kept winning. And we were, I think, we were in first the entire tournament, actually, if I'm not mistaken. And speaking to a lot of the Newfoundland ladies after, they were like, "Oh, BC had a good day." Surprising that they're still in first. They're still in first. They're still in first.
Yeah.
We played our gold medal game at the same time that the Alberta men were playing against Newfoundland. And I don't think I have ever experienced that level of deafening noise in a tournament ever. Anyone who was in that building, I think, could attest to how loud it was. You couldn't even hear yourself think most of the time, because I believe that was Bobby O owned Holiday Lanes, and it was him going for the gold, his first gold in his home lane. So pretty much all of Newfoundland was there, and they made sure they knew that they were there.
It was a crazy experience, and I think we talked about lots on podcasts about that experience. But I do remember, I think you guys were playing the Alberta ladies, it looks like.
We were.
And I remember, I don't know if it was against you guys, but I think Haley's fingernail came off. And so all the ladies had to show their fingernails because it was going to be a foul, right?
Yeah,
it was like
so
Fingergate, yeah.
It started off as I was going for a corner pin spare, and my ball was going right down the lane, and all of a sudden it just literally went sideways, and I was like, what is happening? So I was like, there's something on the lane. Like, my ball literally just completely went sideways. And I guess it had turned into, calling a foul, but I don't think that was the case at all. I know it wasn't for me. I was like, I don't know what's on the lane. I just don't want it there. And ultimately, we literally all had to stand in a circle, nail gate of 2013, to show everybody our fingers. And I didn't care if it was a foul or not. I was like, I just don't want it on the lane.
So did somebody have to walk out there and they found this fingernail out there?
They did, in fact, yep.
And then came back and said whose nail it was, and everybody show your nails, and everybody put their hands in their
all 12 had to sit with their hands in a circle, and they had to go around and look, and it was like hilarious. You can't even like make it up. It was so,
I wouldn't
so
show
funny.
you. Why do you need to know? You don't need to know anything.
Because I think that's when they were like, oh, whose is it? We're going to call a foul, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I don't think any of us cared about fouls.
Is that a foul? Where's the rule book deck?
It was a foul back then. Now it isn't. No different in your dust incident, Daryl?
Yeah.
Right? No different. That stuff is gone, right?
So. But it wasn't a foul because I think it's only a foul if you call it when it happens. But, like, I was, like, fourth in the lineup, and Haley hadn't bowled in God knows how many bowlers. So at that point, they were like, "No."
She knew. Oh, she knew it was her. She came over and she's like, "It's my fucking nail. I'm not going to show my finger." So I think she. I don't know. I think she casually left. I don't know. But all I know is we're playing this. We're playing this match, and all I hear is all these women just, catcalling each other. I'm like, oh my god, guys.
Some of those just pulling them all off.
Yeah.
I think what they were saying is like it could have fallen off like back on the lane, and it could have been like kicked on by somebody else, and like so it never actually was a foul, and none of us cared about it. We were just like, just get whatever it is off the lane.
Yeah,
like
just move it. Yeah.
But it turned into this big thing because I think the judge of play was like all we were doing. I know because like I was the only one that noticed it because my ball ended up hitting it. And I just was like, can you go and get whatever it is off the lane? Because I don't want to hit it a second time. But yeah, then it turned into Nailgate of 2013. Thankfully, it didn't make a difference in anything that took place. But yeah, funny to look back on now. 12 ladies all sitting there with their fingers in a
busted. Yeah.
Yeah, good times, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, and then you obviously representing Newfoundland. You finally won your singles after many silvers and bronzes. Your gold in 2019 in your home lanes basically in Scottsdale. How did that mean a lot for you?
I think it's hard to explain because it was this feeling of, I don't want to say it was pressure because it wasn't, but it was just this feeling of like, it's only ever happened to me a handful of times in my life. And I woke up the morning of the step ladder and I was like, you're winning today. And that's it. And I've never, like, you could say that all you want, but like I woke up and I felt it. I was like, this is like divine intervention or something. Like the fact that I'm in BC representing my new home province with my family there who, as we've established, weren't bowlers, so they don't get bowling. They were like, oh, what is this a big thing? So no, it was so nice to finally happen. I know I had been knocking on the door and I was really close a handful of times. So it was really nice to finally have the win, because I feel like if I hadn't, and then the career ending injury happened, I would always have that like what if. But as devastated as I was like to be injured and not be able to compete, I was like, okay, well, at least I've done the things that like I want to do. I've won a gold medal with BC, I've won a gold medal with Newfoundland, and I've won a singles gold medal. So it was a little easier for me to handle, I think. But no, it was super, super fun to have my family there. My mom had passed before I really was able to compete as an adult, and she was like the big bowling supporter and the ignorant one in the stands, making all the loud noises and cheering ridiculously. But to have like my dad and my stepmom and like the rest of my family there, when otherwise I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to have them there, I think that made it 10 times more special. And then to have my best friend on the lanes with me was like, I don't think you could write a storybook ending better than what it was. I had a great time competing with all the women that year. It was a really, really tough competition, and we always had a bunch of laughs throughout all of it. It's very rare that you'll ever see me like really, really angry. But it's nice to be able to have fun with our competitors, because at the end of the day, like, yes, we're competing against each other, but we are friends off the lanes.
Who did you beat in the final?
That was Sam from Northern Ontario. Yeah.
And there she is.
Yeah. There she is.
Yeah.
How did it feel walking in with the Alberta hat on at the closing ceremonies?
I don't think that anything could have changed how I felt. It was really fun walking in with you, which was, I'm glad that you were there to guide me where I needed to go, which was to no seat. I had nowhere to sit, so I squat down for the whole entire turn, the whole presentation, until someone found me a little chair. But no, it was a lot of fun. I obviously have a lot of memories in Alberta and a lot of good experiences there, so it was nice to be able to share that with you and the Alberta crowd.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Especially Jen Baker, really good friend of mine, and I was grateful to be able to compete with her when she was here in Newfoundland, and to be able to be back in the victory room with her, representing two different provinces because we had just won in 2018. That was another perfect ending. I think it was really nice to see her there.
Yeah.
That was you won that as well, Adam.
And which, sorry, 18?
Well, you said you walked in.
And you won at 19.
Yes.
19.
Yeah, 18 is Quebec, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won. Ho hum.
Hey, I had a rule book thrown at me that Nationals.
Yeah.
A rule book thrown at you?
Like literally a rule book.
Oh,
and I had the C5 president basically in like a closed room, kind of telling me just to keep my cool. So that was interesting. Good times though. Finished well.
Yeah. You and Freddie, you guys are still good friends. I mean, you guys saw him last week or a couple weeks ago, and
that was awesome. Love that guy.
Yeah, he just texted me. He's laughing at my score, so I really appreciate that. Thanks, Freddie.
I want to know more about this rule book.
Oh, you'll have to go back through the other podcasts. I think we went over it.
Yeah, it was like in the first 10 podcasts.
That's an OG moment.
There was a meme about it too. You can go back.
That's right.
You gotta go back. Yeah,
gotta bring that up again.
I'm gonna start diving into the archives.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it quickly.
Yeah.
Do any other?
Go ahead, Daryl. No, it's okay.
No, I was going to ask Megan. Do any of the other opens that you would have competed in, ring out to you that are worth talking about and sharing? Obviously, you had a number of events that you said you fell a little bit short. But what are some of those years in the open sort of tournaments that you remember well?
Not falling short, thankfully. 2018 was such a special year. I had been playing with the Newfoundland ladies for several seasons at that point, and like I've already spoken about, the talent here is really phenomenal. And we had been really close. We'd been on the podium in step ladders, but we went away in 2018, and we played incredibly well. And to be a part of that team, and the first Newfoundland women's team to win a gold medal at the Open, to bring that home felt, I can't even really describe it, honestly. It was just such a historic moment, and to be able to say that I was a part of it, I think is always going to be a really big memory for me. Yeah, I think that's the best one for sure.
Now, can we put you on the spot and list those team members?
Oh, that one might be a little bit easier. It was only a couple years ago, so memory's a little bit better. Courtney Lucas, actually, she won the Rookie of the Year that year. Erica Murphy now, Leg. We always refer to her as Legs. So Melissa Manor was on that team. I gotta go in order lineup. Courtney, Melissa Manor, who both third? Erica, myself, Jen Baker, and Megan Davis. With Coach Dawn Osmond. She's like Coach O. Yeah, that was an amazing week of bowling. Was the beginning of my injury, so that was not as much fun off the lanes when I got back and had to deal with that. But the experience itself was next level, and to finally have Newfoundland take home that gold was a really special moment for me in my career, for sure.
That's awesome.
What about the Masters side of the equation?
The Masters, that was a lot of bowling, a lot of bowling, and a lot of different medals that were not gold. No, it was. It's always an honor to be able to represent Newfoundland at any national tournament. And every year, the really cool thing is every year I got to bowl with a different male from Newfoundland, which was, it made every experience unique. So I got to bowl with Ken Byrne, Mitchell Williams, Shane Chafe the year that he won. I got to bowl with Brad Glynn for half a day. And then, unfortunately, that was the tournament that I had to withdraw from. But yeah, I think the Masters is such a unique experience for, especially in the singles side, because I mean, you bowl the Open and it's 21 games of just going and bowling, and then you go to this one game step ladder event, which I've never been a big fan of. But the Masters is every single game means something, and every single frame means something. And even if you have, a 180, if you are still in your match, like you got to go and find the wherewithal in you to go and throw, the strike and 10 to win, or something along those lines. Or you could go away and throw absolutely massive and not do so well. But I think it makes the tournament itself so unique because everything means something, right? Every time that you're on the lane, it means something. Not saying that any other tournament it doesn't mean something, but it's a totally different mindset, I think, much like we were discussing earlier with the pins game and all of that. Like, it's this completely different mindset, even though realistically it shouldn't be. Should all be the same, but it's a totally different way of approaching bowling. And I was very, very thankful in my years of competing at the Masters to have been on the podium multiple times. I'm excited to be able to come back to bowling this year. Hopefully can do well in both the Open and the Masters this year, but we'll see how that unfolds this coming season.
What does the qualifying look like for Masters in Newfoundland?
Similar concept. We used to do six game sets, but I think oh boy, it's a best of sest. I just can't remember if they're all 8 game sets now or 6. I haven't bowled in a few years, but a similar concept. The best of 6.
And of course, different weekends, or is it kind of similar to Alberta, where it's like the 3 weekends?
Before it was kind of all over the place, and I don't believe it was really on weekends. But this year it is a Saturday, Sunday, 3 different weekends. And I do believe that there are 8 games this year. Look at that, Selena.
To the rest.
Yeah, I believe that there are 8 games. I know that's what I was used to bowling in BC. So I know coming here, like the Open qualifying is a little bit different, and the Masters was a little bit different as well. But I think that it's more along the lines of the rest of the country when it comes to Masters qualifying.
Correct.
And of course, Masters is being hosted this year, Nationals at Newfoundland. So you don't really have to travel anywhere. You can stay home and, put on a show there.
I actually thought it was really cool. I was asked to be a part of the host committee for the Open Nationals, and it was an absolute yes. Especially where I couldn't compete. I wasn't bowling at that point. It was so nice to still be involved in the tournament. A lot of things ended up happening very, very close to the Nationals, which was stressful as heck. 3 weeks before a national event, when the hotel is like, you can't stay here anymore. Yeah, big problem. So a lot of things that were very last minute, us having to try and fix. But it was the first time that I'd ever hosted a Nationals, because most of the time if I am bowling, or when I am bowling, I'm not able to volunteer as much. So that was definitely a different experience, but it was really cool to have it here and be here, because it was the first time that I was living here when it was hosted. And maybe I'm biased. I think it was a great time.
Well, it definitely was. And with all the curveballs that were kind of thrown at the entire committee there, and it ran really well. Obviously, a couple snags, especially with the hotel, and some of the catering and all that that jazz.
That's another podcast.
Yeah, it was. You guys did a tremendous job, and of course it's Newfoundland. Everybody wants to go to Newfoundland. Everybody's going to have a blast in Newfoundland, and it's usually the hospitality, the people that are just make it such a great experience. The lanes, the center put on a great show for everybody, and man, the crowd was electric, especially with the Newfoundland ladies playing so well.
Oh, absolutely. That game, like, you couldn't even hear anything. I was over there trying to do live scoring updates and doing the social media and everything, and half the time I couldn't even take my eyes off the screen because, like, I couldn't hear anything. I had to focus so hard to try and get what I was doing because it was so loud. But no, definitely excited for the Nationals to be here this coming year. I know the Glens are running a tight ship for the Masters this year, and I have no doubt they're going to put off an amazing event.
Mm-hmm.
You will give her your kudos. You did a hell of a job as social media coordinator. Your posts were really good, and a lot of people follow them and got a lot of great information out of it. So obviously we need to find somebody out here in Alberta that does the same great work. Or if we can just send it to you, you can post it for us, right? I mean, that's an option too.
Be the first organization that has me holding the reins. I've got a few under my belt there now. But no, I think it's if anyone is saying that social media is not the way that people digest, like, that is how people digest their news.
Everything.
Everything is on social media, and it's if you're not utilizing it, I think it's such an untapped market, especially because it's so easy to click share, to click like, to spread information, especially when it is useful, helpful information. Wish it wasn't as easy to share the not so helpful stuff. But no, it's a huge tool to have in your arsenal, especially when it comes to hosting events like this and getting information out quickly. Because I'll tell you one thing, I will see something on social media way before I see it in my email. So I think a lot of people are in the same boat.
Best part is it's free.
It is free. And it's so easy. All you do is a little text. The open posts, I literally spent, I think it was maybe 3 hours one day, and I scheduled out every single post in the full month and a half leading up to it. I had it all ready to go, and that was it. 50 some odd posts or something like that, all done up with information, with everything done. It is actually so easy to do.
It is. Yeah, it was well done.
Thank you.
I know Carrie's hounded everybody about liking and sharing and all that stuff. So it goes a long ways, and it's free to do that. So
I'll take my 5-pin universe hat and I'll jump on board for you, Carrie.
Oh, free hat. That's
sure.
Easy.
Ship it out.
I'm gonna be eating my words here in a minute.
Better order than that.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's in the remaining bucket list now that you're back in the game?
I don't necessarily think that I have a bucket list, because every tournament that I go into, obviously, like, my mentality is a tiny bit different, because I'm just grateful to be able to compete. But now knowing that I can be competitive, that I can throw the ball well, that I can throw the ball consistently, my goal in any tournament is to go out and win. I don't care if it's a qualifying. I don't care if it's a provincial tournament. Every time I go into a tournament, ultimately what I want to do, I'm there and I'm playing to win. I don't think I get hung up on not winning, because in the reality of things is we're not going to win everything. We might not even win at all. But I think my goal is to always grow from every tournament. Even the first MBT event that I bowled back in the summer, I used that as a stepping stone. I learned things from it. Going away to club tour, learned things from that. This tournament as well took a lot of different things away. And I think that my goal is always to be the best that I can be. I mean, that's as cheesy as it is to say. My goal is always to be the best version of myself. I don't play for anybody else. I don't play for, the people in the stands. I don't play for anything. I play for me. And I always want to be putting the best version of me forward. Whether that means that I throw the ball well or not, I want to just be the best me in every tournament. So if I'm able to be competitive at all going forward, that is a huge cherry on top of everything that I have been through. Especially because for a long time there, it didn't look like I was ever going to be able to bowl again. So yeah, every tournament I just want to be the best. Obviously, winning would be great. Masters would be nice.
Get that double crown, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really nice. But I try not to put too much pressure on myself, especially as we've established. It's almost a miracle that I'm able to compete again. So yeah, I just want to take every tournament as an opportunity to learn and to grow and to have a good time. I'm always there to have a good time.
You're a newfie.
Right?
Name of the game.
Yeah. It's very, very rare, unless someone has done something to like royally piss me off. Very, very rare that you're going to see me like angry or pissy or anything like that. So I'm always there to have fun, laugh at myself a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So I have a kind of a two-part question. We're talking about Newfoundland and you're a transplant Newfoundlander, right? Jeff Young and Jen Young are moving there, right?
Oh, I'm so excited.
Obviously, you're good friends with them. What does that mean to Newfoundland, or how does that enhance what you guys got there?
I think just the reason that Jeff and Jen are such good friends of myself and Melissa specifically, we're a little squad, is just the energy. Don't get me wrong, they're incredible competitors, but the energy that they bring to everything that they do and the passion that they have, and they're always there to have a good time. Jeff, maybe not so much halfway through club tour, but always there to have a good time. And to say that they are, if you say anything, of course, they're going to make a huge contribution to Newfoundland. Anytime that you have talented bowlers or bowlers in general adding to your already huge list of competitors, it just makes the depth that much stronger. So I'm personally just excited to be able to have them here. They're building a house just around the corner from my house, within stumbling distance, we say. So really, really excited to just have them here. And I think it'd be really cool to be able to bowl on a team with one or both of them in the future. So super stoked to have them come.
Second part question. I hear everybody rave about the Jeffy Burger. Is it actually that good?
It's spicy, but yes, it is very good. He's already committed to Jeffy Burgers on his back deck. So Jeffy Burgers for Masters Newfoundland.
Oh, okay. So he's a big party at Jeff's house.
Ooh, house party.
If they haven't already put their house up for a party, I totally just did. So sorry,
That's
Jeff.
okay. Yeah. Voluntold. I'm sure Jeff will just love us walking over there. Yeah, super cool, guys. Super cool.
Yeah, just the housewarming. That's all.
Hey, Timmy, you got to get there first.
Yeah, they're moving in the beginning of May.
Who says they'll be here
and just settled before the Masters in July. So we could still call it a housewarming.
That's assuming that they're going to be on time with their house.
Oh, see, they were actually supposed to move in the fall. Like, they were supposed to be here October. So this is now pushed. So there is no way that this is on time now, or they will be on time.
I'm in a house renovation, and I know I'm not on time. So I know that's 6 months away, but.
Oh man, Jen was here for the Open, and we were doing some house-related things. And we did it all in a day, which was absolute madness. I'm sure Jen can attest to that, especially where she was bowling singles like the next day. But yeah, it was just delay after delay after delay. I would drive by and check out the house and still didn't have a foundation. So I think it was don't really want to move here in the wintertime or try and drive across the country. So they were like, you know what, if it's not going to get done, we'll just come out, closer to the summertime. So May it is, and May it will be. So very excited to have them here.
Maybe chat a little bit about that. Like you mentioned the word squad. I've seen Jeff even say that before. And obviously a club tour, you kind of treated it that way. You were a squad. And even to the point of seeing when Jeff obviously got a little overheated on the Sunday, called in his medical advice and and basically supported him through the rest of the day on Sunday of needing that help. And it's obviously certainly nice to have somebody there on your side to do that. So.
And I think the four of us specifically, we always have each other's backs, and we're always like there cheering on everybody. We were all there supporting Jeff during the club tour, and I know when he started feeling unwell, he did the whole. And I thought he was like yelling at Jen for something, send her over, and he like. So knowing full well, like, of course I'm going to be there. I don't care what it is. I'm going to be there to help him through all of it. Later that night, we actually had another medical emergency. Not me for the first time in a while. So we'll take that and be happy with it. But no, they were super supportive through all of that too. And I know during the MBT event, every single time they were watching every stream. Great shot. Oh my God, another win. And we really are a squad. Like, we are there to support each other in all of the decisions that we make. We're there to celebrate the big and the little victories. So really, this is why I'm so excited to have them here, because like, I do really consider them like my squad. They're my people.
Yeah, I think that's good to have.
Maybe because I'm just really excited to have them here. But the bowling aside, that's an extra little cherry on top.
So do we foresee another expansion for the Pro League team? If we got Jeff and Jen Young, we got Meagan there. You got enough players there you've been talking about too. Maybe there's a second team coming in.
Anybody who can like develop some form of like squad logo.
Yeah, well, you got to wait a year.
Yeah.
We start rounding
Suicide Squad. Squad. Jeff can be Harley Quinn. Yeah.
Jeff can be Harley Quinn. Very good. No, yeah, they're great people, and anyone who knows them would say the same. But they're definitely extra special in my life. So super excited to have them and like be literally around the corner from me, which is wicked.
That'd be good.
Might find me on their couch a few mornings if they don't want me to be there, but.
What about other, we talk about other bowlers and up and comers there, or maybe some of the guys, Newfoundland, what's shaking, what's happening, who's playing well, where are we at coming into this year?
The thing that is like, and I will say it till I'm blue in the face, the thing that is so mind boggling to me is in such a small area, like all of Newfoundland and Labrador, I think has maybe 500,000 people. If that, the majority of whom live in St. John's and surrounding areas. So like 250, 300,000 there, which is nothing compared to a lot of the bigger provinces in the sport. And to have so much depth here, it blows my mind. Like I had no idea of the magnitude of it until I started bowling here, competing against these people. Because a lot of the zones, because everybody is so close, the zones themselves are actually centers. So they've since been relabeled as like Metro 1, Metro 2, Metro 3, etc. But we have 4 zones just in the St. John's metro area, which how can you still field competitive teams with such a small pool and split them up over 4 different zones? And not only that, we actually have our provincials, we have rules where you can put in multiple mixed teams. People who bowl the mixed can actually buy in to bowl singles, et cetera, et cetera. So we have competitors, huge lists of competitors. And the thing that is so crazy to me is like, you will never see all the same people all the time. I know we've spoken about it before, but when they were still in the zones or the houses, the national gold medal winner in 2013 was the Holiday Lanes men. The following year in 2014 was the St. Pat's men, which is, they're 10 minutes apart from each other. So, and completely separate groups of people. So the bowlers here are so, like, the depth of the competition here is so outrageous that I don't think I could even list like who's playing well, who's doing well, because there's so many of them. It's like ridiculous. We do have a lot of really young talent that's coming up though. I know that the youth challenge team had a phenomenal performance at nationals this year. They went undefeated, which is amazing. I don't even know if it's ever happened before, but if it has, it's extremely rare. Huge bowling out of all of those young kids. And we also had a really, really big year at the YBC Nationals. We actually had a YBC senior, Amy Harris, win double gold. And she bowled amazing, like something like a 257 average or something like that. So we have a lot of talented bowlers and a lot of really young bowlers that are coming up. So I think the landscape of bowling here might change a little bit in the next little while, but no, we have a lot of really talented bowlers here on the island, and I think it's a really big family. Like, everyone on the lane will claw each other's face out, but the second you get to that banquet, the gala that we call it, everybody is just there and has a great time. And everybody's friends outside of bowling too, which is really, really cool.
Nothing but support from everywhere too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Businesses, like family, extended families.
Yeah, when I won in 2019, obviously, like, I was bowling in BC as a Newfoundland bowler, and the very first people that were there to congratulate me were Newfoundland bowlers, tears streaming down their face. Oh my gosh, like, they're so supportive in everything that the province is doing. They will be behind your back 100%, and it's a really cool dynamic to have. I've only ever obviously bowled in BC, but to have so many people behind you supporting you, like, as a BC native and spending my whole life in BC, I think I might actually have more support in Newfoundland than I even do in BC. So yeah, it's such a cool community to be a part of. Squad. We were talking about the squad cast tonight, so.
Oh yeah, nice. So with obviously all the great bowlers and talent and people there, what's the coaching scenario look like in Newfoundland? Is there lots of people that are coaching, or is it really just it's by committee bowlers? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I think that's the problem that we've been running into as of late, because I'd say 90+% of the active coaches right now, they all bowl. So you're basically waiting for people to not make a team in order to have a coach. And then where we have so many zones and then so many extra teams that can be put in, I want to say, I might completely be wrong with this number. I feel like there were like 11, maybe 13 mixed teams at our provincials last year. So like that turned into a coaching nightmare. So it's being a small population, we have a lot smaller group of people that we can pick as coaches. But I don't think it takes away from the quality of our coaches.
No.
Like, anybody that we have coached is really talented, really experienced. And even if they're not experienced, they go away and do extraordinary things. I know we had I don't want to say rookie because Karina's coached a lot, but a less decorated coach go away to coach the youth challenge. And I've heard nothing but amazing things that she did when she went away, and obviously was a huge part of their victory. So like, we have a lot of really talented coaches. We just need more.
Yeah.
We need more. But I feel like that's an ongoing issue with many provinces right now.
I can touch base on it, maybe, and throw a challenge out to some some of you guys out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have a little bit of insight on coaching situation out there. It's a cluster right now, if to say the least.
Yep.
So with COVID and with obviously people aging out, we were losing a bunch of coaches. So we obviously have the virtual clinic that's available now, or is eligible, right? But part of what CAC has given us, or myself, is that we have to get our learning facilitators. They have to be. They have to take a course or go through the course, like that we normally would do with community sport, or people call it level 1, but the community sport online before they're able to deliver it to everybody else. Okay, now in Canada, there's 7 master learning facilitators out there, or developers. Okay, those are the ones that help create the course of the community sport. So like one is Ken Byrne, you have Daniel Lamarche, you have Sheila, you have Dave, you have Gort Staunton from Ontario, you have Frank Clark, and you have Brian Sudbury. So those are the 7 main people out there. Okay, so these people have to find time during their busy schedules and start doing virtual training for the learning facilitators. It's like a 2 or 3 hour, 4 hour course, or just to quickly go through it, how to use the slides, how to use everything else like that. Okay. The problem is, master learning facilitators need to have to get on again, and we got to show them how to use the program. But try to get them all in once, it's almost nearly impossible. So I'm trying to spread it out on certain days where we can do half and half, or trying to get those ones in there, because obviously, like Ernie out here can't do a course until he does the online stuff, right? But the master learning facilitators have to know how to do it properly. It's a big schmoz right now. I'm trying to get him on there, not like in a negative way. It's really tough to get everybody organized, and that's all through CAC. Now, the other big hard part is trying to find learning facilitators out there. Okay, so I think Ken is the only one out in Newfoundland who does learning facilitating.
I was
right?
literally just about to say he's the only one at the moment.
So learning facilitators, we can try to get a course together with one of these master learning developers, which we suggested. We get them on a certain day. It'll cost each province or whoever wants to do it with airfare and all the other stuff, a couple $1,000, right? Just to do it the one time. Now, they would become a learning facilitator, and then you don't have to go through all the rigmarole of everything else. The one thing is, if you can't do that, then you have to do it. It's a 3-step process to try to become a learning facilitator. Now, please keep in mind, you need 3 courses in order to participate in this. So, for example, like the first one, if I wanted to see Ernie McClellan's having one, I can sit on his community coach course. I can just watch the first one. The second one I would co-deliver, and then the third course I would have to deliver myself. So it's a 3-step process. This is all through CAC and Coaching Association of Canada that we have to follow, right? So it is a step of process. So I'm kind of throwing out to anybody out there, if anybody's interested in becoming a learning facilitator, it would definitely help the coaching situation out there in order to do it, right?
So actually, at our AGM just a couple of weekends ago, we had discussed this point exactly, and I can't remember the name that was put out there. Someone might know off the top of their head, but we have committed to adding another facilitator to our roster, because right now having only the one person providing coaching courses definitely limits the ability to pump out new coaches. I know myself, I actually only have my level 1, and really hard to do a level 2 when schedule conflicts or COVID obviously doesn't help. But yeah, having that extra person, even just the one extra person, I think is going to make a really big difference here, because I know, like myself, I'll go and get my level 2, et cetera, et cetera. But I totally agree. I think it's going to be a really big key, not even just in Newfoundland, but across the country.
Across Canada.
Because I think coaching is a really big struggle in most places, honestly. Obviously, the smaller provinces are having a bigger issue just simply because they don't have the numbers. But it doesn't take away the fact that larger provinces have similar issues.
Correct. Yeah, and I think I think getting the virtually trained first and getting them on for community, it's going to be a huge help. You can take a course that's run from in Alberta all the way from Newfoundland, right? And then that will help save the issue with a lot of things. Competitive is the tough one, right? Because right now that has to be worked on. And there's, I just think that's going to be the tough one, right? So, yeah.
I know we briefly touched on this in previous podcasts, but like, why is there a need for the competitive coaching or that level 2 side of it? Is it strictly for national funding?
Yeah, correct.
Because there's plenty of people that are out there that quite simply don't want to go through the process, and that hinders the numbers in the grand scheme of things, right? I just have a hard time believing that a course is what makes a coach, right?
No, for sure. Yeah.
And I think that's where part of the struggle is, keeping some of the so-called good potential coaches out of the mix.
Right. So it is a funding thing, right? So when you're getting funding through the government, you would have to hit a certain amount of check marks and a certain amount of boxes, and that's one of them, right? You have to have that course availability for a national level event in order to get that done. Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of great ones out there, right? But I mean, like if funding is a huge portion to the thing, right? So yeah. Unfortunately,
we did the competitive coach clinic at Sherwood there, Tim. I can't remember how long ago, a number of months ago, and it was a Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, but it was worth it. It could have dragged it on a little bit longer, or a little bit less, but it was definitely educational content. And I think for a coach that wants to be competitive, wants to coach at a national level, they should be putting in the time to go and learn the information, rather than just because you're a good bowler makes you a good coach. I've had so many, coaches in my sporting careers, and, some of the best coaches never ever played the game. Sure, some of the best players are also good coaches, but it really isn't, the equivalent. It's a totally different game, a totally different mindset. Just because you're a good player doesn't mean you're a good coach. So we can't just hand you the ticket. You have to go put the time in, put the effort into learning the stuff, especially if the government says so, or the people that put the time into developing these courses, then go and take the course.
Yeah. I will say I took the course in 2013, and I finally completed it because of COVID. So it took me about 8 years to get it done. So I mean, I'm certain those, and that's the other thing. You guys take your competitive level 2 or competitive course on, and you do it all. You still need to do the online work and do the online portion, right? So I don't think the course would be nearly as bad if you didn't have to do that, but with certain guidelines you have to follow, right? That's part of because I mean, I was just hopped on for the tail end of, and Dave and Sheila did everything for online virtually, right? But it's all has to be approved, every little slide that goes through CAC. Right? Everything has to be gone through them, and they have to approve it, right? So it's not saying, hey, we want to do this. This is what their guidelines are and what they expect from us, and we have to meet them, unfortunately. Yeah. But it's a good way to share things and see where we are at with our coaching, and I think there's if anybody's interested in getting their coaching or figuring it out, reach myself and I can guide you the right way, and we want to make sure this is done properly, and everybody get to reach out to it.
Yeah, I think to have ease of access is going to make a really big difference too, because I have no doubt there's a lot of competitive bowlers out there, like myself included, being able to speak from a personal standpoint. I always in my head, I was like, I want my level 2, but it's a huge time commitment and a lot of, rescheduling and stuff like that to try and make it fit into my life, especially when my intention is to go and bowl. And if my intention is to bowl and the ability for me to coach is so severely limited, what purpose do I actually have going into getting it done? But if there is it's more easily accessible through a lot of the ways that, like you were mentioning, I think it'll inspire a lot more people to be like, okay, this is worth the time commitment or the investment into my growth as a coach, simply because it's easier to access.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. That's a good explanation.
You gotta have the. I like the idea, Tim, that it gets to be able to go online, and it will become easier.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
there's kind of a fight back on some learning facilitators because, and I don't disagree with them. The online portion when you had the community sport was very. There's a lot of people that can take community to help out their YBC program. They don't actually know the logistics of it, so the online portion does help a lot. But that being said, there's always a good to the bad, and the good part is if you're able to do it online and get more people certified to help out the programs and make it easier, then there's that, right? I wish there was more of a checklist to make sure that these coaches are getting the right information and coaching the right information, right? Because you see a lot of community coaches out there. I feel personally that that still don't understand the game and their coaching, right? We all see it. They're great volunteers, but maybe they're lacking the education with it. And if there was a way we can help educate them more after being certified, I think that's another route we should be looking at as well. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nail
What do you
on the
like-
head there.
What do you like
Especially
better?
because, it's really easy to, if you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, as we spoke about social media earlier and how easy it is to spread misinformation. If you don't know what you're talking about, like, you could actually be doing more harm than good. So keeping up on that education and being able to put forth this is information that should be shared and what's going to be beneficial, I think is really key. So I totally agree with what you said there, Tim.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, Megan, what do you prefer, the Open versus the Masters? We debate that often.
Ooh, tough question, and we debated a lot. I think for the competition, I prefer the Open. You're bowling with your zone, and you get to, win or make the team, win provincials, go away to nationals, and the competition at the Open is always so much fun. But in terms of like the experience at nationals, I think the Masters puts off a better experience. I don't know how to explain that. Like, there's so much more interaction, especially because you have that the teaching and seniors divisions. So there's so much more fun things to do, I think. So I prefer competing in the Open, but I prefer the Masters nationals themselves.
How about WCBT tournament format? The 40 qualify versus the brackets versus the double sides versus the Autumn Open.
I love the Autumn Open. I've said it from day one. Autumn Open forever. I think that for me, I've actually always thought that the Open singles should actually be that kind of format, or the Master singles or whatever. The Masters, I like the match play though, because even though you might be down and out of a match, the key is you still need to keep shooting for everything that you have. Or, okay, I'm shooting a 350. I have won by 150. I'm still going to go shoot for every single pin that you can. And not saying that you're not doing that already, but it's different to be like, oh yeah, this match is in the bag, or oh, this match, I'm way out of it. And even though you feel like you're trying, a lot of it, like, your heart's not in it. So I love the Autumn Open format where it's the 50-point bonus. Like, you bowl your scores, and obviously there's still that element of match play kind of combined into it. Actually, why we decided very last minute to come out to the Autumn Open. So I'll see you all in person in like a week.
Awesome.
My favorite,
So
though. I love it.
what spurred that decision to come out to the Autumn Open and one of the WCBT events?
Melissa made a lot of money off of me from investing in some back alley transactions, maybe. No, one, I played really well. We went up to club tour. We actually had some flight credits to use. So we went up to club tour mainly to be like, okay, this is an experience, a little bit of practice. WCBT is probably a little bit more of a time and money commitment that maybe I'm not quite ready for just yet, getting back into it. But going and playing the way that I did at the MBT, I was like, okay, no, I'm not just getting back into things. I'm back into things, and fresh off of a win and with some extra money to burn, we were like, all right, let's do this. So like, I think it was like a couple days after Melissa was like, want to go to Autumn? I was like, sure. She's like, cool, I just booked us flights. Actually, we put our names down first to be like, okay, put us in these shifts. We still need flights. And then she booked flights.
Yeah. Cart before the horse.
Right. But yeah, that was just a simply, I got some extra money, and I feel like I can actually go and do something with it. I'm not just going to like throw money away coming out to bowl. I can actually go out there and compete. So yeah, really looking forward to it. First WCBT event I've played in since I moved out here, I think. I moved out here in 2014, and I hit Autumn Open on the way up as I was moving. And I think that was the last one that I got to play in. So pretty excited.
The WCBT was even established.
I know. So technically, first ever WCBT event.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so a couple of Newfoundlanders are making their way over. So that's going to be a lot of
We're
fun.
excited to have you guys out.
Can't believe that's next week already.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. I was just talking to Melissa the other day, and she was like, like planning and gonna start packing. I'm like, packing for what? We leave in like 6 days. What? Mind-boggling. But yeah, we are really excited to come out. So we'll see how it is flying out across the country during whatever trying to fly at this time is. But
yeah,
excited to be there.
Awesome. Well, we're kind of closing in on that 2-hour mark. So do you have any parting words or any wisdom you want to share with the podcast crew or everybody that's listening?
Any wisdom? Don't be a paramedic ever. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I actually love my job. I think I've shared a lot of my thoughts on things. I could talk forever about, the mental toughness and, going through all the things that I have been through. So I think the biggest thing is knowing that if you're experiencing similar things, that you're not alone. So if anybody has been through a really tough time, is struggling with their mental or physical health, shoot me a message. I have no problem chatting. I've had a good couple of chats with some friends in the past few weeks, and it always leaves me feeling good to pass on, even through the terrible experiences that I've been through. If I'm able to share some of that knowledge with somebody and maybe brighten them up a little bit, I think it makes that whole crappy side of it a little bit easier. So if anybody wants to chat or pick my brain on mental prep or just to chat about some tough times that they're going through, I've been there. I'm here to listen. So other than that, thank you guys so much for asking me on. Can't believe that it's 140 some odd episodes. What are you guys doing with your lives? No, kidding. Seriously, you guys are doing an awesome job. So thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks for so much.
I just speak for myself. Thank you for coming on, and it's awesome seeing you back. You were such a dominant force before the injury, obviously, and now seeing you back, it's exciting to see where it's going to take you, and we hope to see you on the lanes at all the nationals.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'm really excited to be back. Hopefully we can repeat some domination in a week. So be scared, everyone.
There's more pressure on Newfoundland now to keep it up. You're no longer just that little club on the East Coast. You're a powerhouse.
Yeah.
So
We'll drag some people along with us. No, I'm really excited to see what Newfoundland does this year.
Yeah, expectations.
Yeah, so I'm very excited.
Awesome. Well, you guys have any parting words, or we're ready to wrap this one up?
I don't know. For myself, I just I I've followed your career for quite some time, and obviously your dedication and the experience, especially recently that you've gone through. I think your message is extremely relatable for a lot of the community that that this podcast may get out to. So the fact that you're able to get back into that competitive mindset and back into that fierce drive that you've had that's made you so good for so many years. I think it's just something that maybe that one person might be able to see and push their journey one step closer. So definitely appreciate you coming on and obviously putting your experiences out there, and we're very grateful for all that knowledge.
No worries. I'm happy to share and help people feel a little less alone, because I think that was the hardest part going through it myself, was feeling like it was an entire battle that I had to face all by myself. So anytime that I'm able to make anybody feel a little bit better about what they're going through and the fact that they aren't by themselves, like, I'm more than happy to. It makes me feel so much better. Warms my heart a little bit. And I'm so excited to be back competing, doing the things that I've done for a very, very long time, and excited to see everybody's faces again. So looking forward to the year ahead and what that holds for not just myself, but for bowling, and especially bowling in Newfoundland.
Perfect. I think we'll wrap it up here. Thanks again, Meagan, and we'll see everybody next week before the Autumn Open.
Sounds good. We'll see you in person next week.
Yeah, 5TL this weekend, week number 2. Tune in, everybody. Hey, see you guys.
See you later, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.